field, and our reporter Kholofelo Mokoena will give us that special report. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned.
Lokuhle FM, inspiring content.
Welcome back to Well Focus. If you have just joined us, it is 8 minutes to the hour 7, and we are continuing with our stories for today. And more than 500,000 jobs are at risk of if the proposed amendment bill to the Private Security Regulations Amendment Act are implemented. Last week, Minister of Police, Mr. Lokuhle, drafted proposals to the act without consultation with the private security sector and its stakeholders. The amendments seek to disarm the private security sector by imposing strict regulations on what types of firearms as well as ammunition they can possess. This was met with various criticism from industry role players, and our reporter Kholofelo Mokoena filed this report for us.
The proposed amendments to the Private Security Industry Regulation Act have outraged security companies, saying this will negatively affect how they work. The regulations are aimed at limiting the private security sector on the type of weaponry they can use. One unhappy organization is the South African Gun Owner Association. Demi Allison speaks about their concerns.
Absolutely. I mean, this affects a large portion of our communities, and not just the 580,000 security officers that work with you, but you and I and all South Africans across the broad spectrum of South Africa rely more these days on private security than, unfortunately, the police, because they're so under-resourced. So this is going to have a severe impact on all of us. So restricting the types of firearms the security companies can use, as well as, crazy enough, restricting the use of non-lethal weapons, pepper sprays and tasers, which you would think would be the alternative to using your firearm in a self-defense situation, is just craziness in itself. It's just totally hamstringing the entire industry, as well as restricting the entire industry. For instance, if a security officer had to use his firearm as self-defense and the company's under investigation because of legitimate use of self-defense, the entire company cannot operate any further because it has to now stop issuing firearms. That is one of the proposed regulations here.
Meanwhile, Private Security Industry Regulatory Authority Manabela Chauke says there will be no loss of jobs or closure of companies due to PRISA Act regulation.
I think first of all, let's rather correct the narrative that is out there by saying that no one will lose their job in the private security industry through this regulation. That is a very incorrect narrative. Secondly, that there is no company that will be closing due to this regulation. And thirdly, let's correct also, stay away from the anxiety that is being created in society to say that people will lose their jobs because of these regulations. From where we begin, these regulations don't start from now. They were first published in 2003. Nothing happened. 22 years later, we sit with a very worse situation that we had in between the years in terms of the rogueness that has happened. Remember that we live in a constitutional country. The rule of law is the first thing. So for any authority to act, there must be law first.
The Association of Private Security Owners of South Africa said the proposed amendment on the fire restriction and other tools of trade will render the industry dysfunctional. Taposa's Cindy Chauke says PRISA need to reconsider the draft amendment.
So if you look at the industry is a 45 billion rands industry. And if you really look at it, and in terms of the people that it actually employs over 500,000, it's over 500,000 security personnel that it employs. And now if you are going to be restricting the tools of trade within this particular industry, that is going to be able to render the industry to be a bit dysfunctional in terms of the way it has to render services to its clients. Now, and it's just a simple example, just prohibiting the use of several essential crowd control tools, including your rubber bullets, your water cannons, etc. In situations where there is unrest, in situations where there is violent threats that are actually happening. and you are actually expecting that there is security officers will be there to actually fold their arms and not really do anything when there is violence, threats, and attacks. That is something else that SIRA needs to really consider in terms of one of those particular amendments that is actually there.
The Democratic Alliance has also weighed in opposing the amendment and calling for their withdrawal. The DA argues that regulations are vague, impractical, and will compromise public safety. Ultimately, the fate of this amendment remains uncertain, with the deadline for public comments set for April 25, 2025. The outcome will significantly impact the private sector industry and public safety in South Africa. Kholofelo Mokoena, Lokuhle FM, Johannesburg.
Yes, and thank you to our reporter Kholofelo Mokoena for that special report. And in other news, it has been reported that Ukrainian forces have captured 2 Chinese nationals who were fighting for the Russian army in eastern Ukraine, Donetsk region. And that was provided by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. And in other stories making rounds in the international frame, it was reported that about 7 police officers were injured have been injured in a crash during a pursuit that closed part of the A1 road near Newcastle in the United Kingdoms. And looking at what happened yesterday on our sports, the football club Arsenal beat the football club Real Madrid 3-0 after Declan Rice scored 2 amazing free kicks, and the match ended there. The first leg of the match ended 3-0 in favor of the Gunners. The Gunners of gunning for the Champions League. We know that they are struggling to catch up with Liverpool on that English Premiership race, because last week